My name is Chad Oppenheim, and I'm the principal of Oppenheim Architecture and Design. We've been in business for 7 years, and we're doing a lot of mixed-use projects around the country, and soon to be doing some international projects. We have about 30 architects, and we're all using ArchiCAD. And we made the switch a few years back when we were starting to do some of the larger projects and starting to grow the office. And it was fortunate for us to be able to do something like that at a nascent stage in our careers to sort of get into the virtual modeling of buildings and so forth. I think that there's been such a tremendous growth in the appreciation of design, especially in this country in the last 4 to 5 years, that designers and design and everything culturally significant to the sort of art and design world has really become something very prominent in our society, and I think that's a great thing. So I think you're going to be seeing a lot of the sort of reverberation of that sort of tremendous energy, and a lot of great architecture, and more appreciation for the better things and the better way of living and designing. Well, our design philosophy is really an architecture based on experience, and we are very much about creating buildings that are nothing more than what they need to be, sort of making it like only what's essential. And I oftentimes make the analogy to cooking when you make a reduction, and a reduction of, let's say, a balsamic reduction. So you boil off all the sort of water and non-critical ingredients, and you're left with sort of the critical flavor and the amazing sort of hyper sort of explosion of taste. And that's essentially what we try to accomplish with our architecture, to sort of create it with as minimal means but maximum effect and maximum pleasure and experientially. That is our objective, and we sort of have a catchphrase that we've used and kind of sticks, but it's almost like a romantic minimalism. But minimalism tends to be somewhat cold, and oftentimes people think of modern architecture as cold and absent of kind of the warmth and the charm of sort of traditional architecture. So what we try to do is really deal with the experiences and the feelings and the sensations of how people want to live, work, dream, and create an architecture that supports that and enhances that. In addition, we also try to accentuate and make sort of a greater appreciation of a particular context where the buildings sit, both urbanistically from the scale of the pedestrian to the experience of the person in the building, whether it be experiencing the view or heightening the awareness of certain things. But for us, we have such respect for the natural world in that a sunrise or the moon over the water. I mean, the architecture just really kind of sets that up and frames those types of moments, because those are the ingredients that are very inexpensive to build with. And if you can really kind of focus on sort of the romantic beauty of the world, I think the architecture is more servant to that, but obviously it's its own powerful thing. So I also think that when you're in love, all your senses are heightened, and when I met my wife, she kind of alerted me to all the sort of beauty around me, and I've kind of captured that and express it architecturally. I always missed sort of the 3D capabilities, the idea of being able to visualize things quickly. So for me, it was a great moment to find a program that would be able to bring together the sort of two-dimensional and three-dimensional components of how one creates architecture and studies architecture. I mean, for us, in terms of building information technology and the way it's affect the market and its future, I think that we've used this analogy before for clients, not a relationship to this, but, do you ride a bicycle to get to your office or whatever, let's say it's 50 miles away, or do you take your car? We have the technology, we might as well use it to its fullest potential. And I think obviously creating something virtually and understanding the way it works three-dimensionally, because we are building multi-dimensional elements, buildings, obviously there's time and other spatial information in a building, but obviously you would want as much ammunition as possible to sort of understand what a building is going to be at the end result. I mean, we see a lot of three-dimensional modeling for marketing purposes and rendering purposes, and those are all phenomenal tools, but they're really more for sales as opposed to construction. So I think this sort of integration of multi-dimensional sort of understanding of your ultimate product is something that has revolutionized and will continue to revolutionize.
Hey, my name is Carlos Ramos. I've been with Oppenheim Architecture and Design for approximately 3 years now. I'm a project architect. Building information modeling is definitely, the way I see it, is the way to go. When I was in school, one of the things, I was very 3D oriented. I like to build models more than I like to draw. And usually what I would do is I would build a cardboard model of my project, and then I would take slides of it. I would project the slides on the wall and just trace them, and those would be my renderings. Then later I would add color to that. Basically what ArchiCAD is doing is allowing me to do what I used to do in school. In other words, to build a model inside the computer, and from that model basically generate all my information, my 2D information, my elevations, my sections, as well as renderings. The thing is that what most people don't realize it is like in a program like ArchiCAD, how simple it is to do, because basically you're drawing just like you would in your drafting table. You have a 2D window where you do your floor plans, but every time that you draw something, it has two-dimensional implications. That means that when you open a 2D elevation window, it'll draw the elevation for you. So you would be interacting in the same manner that you would normally build. Right now, even though we're at the cutting edge of using that technology inside the firm, the product that we're delivering to the contractors is still a regular set of blueprints. So I think the next step is going to be when the construction industry also adopts the platform, and we can simply give them the model so that they can do all their coordination and all their cost estimating and bring all, directly from our building model. So I think it's a migration process. First, the architect starts to use it, then the consultants of the architect start to use it, and then at some point in the near future, we'll be able to hand that to the contractors so that they can extract all the information from there rather than from the blueprints. And think about it, in a blueprint, it's very hard to visualize three-dimensionally, especially for somebody in the construction industry, what's going on. Once they have the building information modeling and all these systems are coordinated and integrated, they've already essentially built it or seen it built inside the computer before they go out and do it in reality. So the closer we can simulate it, then successfully, the more successful that construction will go on. Productivity enhancements are definitely a byproduct of just using the program. The fact that once you build your model, you generate a lot of your 2D documentation, your elevations, your building section. That is very productive per se. All you need to do is just add the information, the text, the dimensions, and so forth. So it definitely cuts. You can develop something very quickly and generate all the views that you need to describe the building very fast. So, I mean, there's a lot of productivity enhancement from that point of view, just from the essence of what the project is. The other productivity, the enhancement that you see is the ArchiCAD's teamwork. Whereas we have a 50-story building, and for example, right now we're working on Cube, which is a very dramatic Oppenheim design based on modular cubes that shift around the building. Some pop out at different places. So it's a dramatic design. But some people can be working on the tower portions, on the units, so they can be working on several stories, because you can share it by giving stories to a different team member. The other one can be working on the parking floors, and other people can be working on detailing, and it's all in the same file. So when they send their changes to the main server, your database gets updated. So we're not talking about a lot of different little drawings scattered all over your servers. We're talking about one main file that's being updated continuously, and that's an amazing productivity booster. The students in school now, what they really should be excited is how fast things are happening now. If you just drive around Miami, I mean, the city is bubbling. Buildings are sprouting everywhere. So, I mean, there's a lot of construction coming on board. And if you look globally, I mean, what's happening in China, I just went to Mexico City, the same thing, construction's all over the place. And what is being built, a lot of what is being built are big, highly complicated buildings that are hard to keep a track of. So the more skills you have in using a product like ArchiCAD, which keeps track of all this building information, I would say the more successful you would be.
I look for people who are incredibly creative, but I also look for people who have a sort of control or a knowledge, or you can determine that they have some sort of aesthetic sensibility, even in the way like the resume is written, or I mean, I throw out resumes that don't have like the right font or it's not aligned, because I'm like very particular about those things. But when I look at something, I'm obviously very visual, so I want to see sort of three-dimensional drawings, incredible drawing skills, whether it be with computer program, hand, or whatnot, but a sensibility of aesthetics and sort of good design, I think, is easily seen in images and a portfolio within seconds. And then there are times when we want to hire someone who's more experienced and more technical based, but they also have to have a good sensibility of design, or at least I think they're coming to us because they appreciate that and want to get more engaged in that capacity. What I think probably is most important is a passion for design, for architecture, for life. Other things can be taught, but like passion, you either have it or you don't, and I think that spark is something critical.